All right, so we're at the end of our trip to Korea, waiting to board our flight back to the States at Incheon Airport. Wanted to do a quick recap of some of our favorite things about the trip.
Mine is for sure seeing my parents and getting to hang out with them. And we being there for 3 weeks, it still went by super fast, but it allowed us to get the things done that we wanted to on our list in terms of things that you wanted to see, things that we wanted to do with the girls, but also have some of those in between times with my parents, meals, morning and evening times. Even got to play tennis with my parents. I didn't get to play tennis. I tried a couple of times, but they have a very rigorous tennis schedule, and most
So
mornings I was
5
hanging
a.m.
out
out
with
the
the
door.
girls. Yeah.
Again, unexpectedly, my favorite part was the playing tennis with my in-laws. They would wake up at 5 a.m. every day to go, and it's like a 20-minute drive. So the morning commute to the tennis courts, back home, just playing with their community of retirees and friends. It was just such a nice time to spend with your in-laws and just ask them questions and talk about life. And that was definitely the most memorable thing for me. And also just waking up every morning, being active, and it's very different from what the past 2 years have looked like for me. So I thought it's definitely the best part.
I'm glad you guys got that time. I should say I don't feel like I got enough time with my parents, actually. If anything, I do wish we had some more slower days. But I'm so grateful for what we did have. One of my other favorite parts, unexpectedly, we hadn't planned to see friends necessarily when we had talked about this trip months ago. I mean, years ago initially, but months ago when we realized this trip was going to be more for the sake of seeing my parents, because I hadn't seen them in a couple of years, more that than a tourism visiting for fun kind of trip. So I was really focused on that, but we got to see relatives I hadn't seen in over a decade, but also some friends we hadn't seen in a really long time, and so that was really great. I think it was an unexpected perk, and
Yeah, it was really cool to just see how people were doing life, living life, in a very different way, but also very healthy, very happy. And yeah, it was really cool to reconnect in that way.
this was also our first big trip with the girls. It was their first international trip for sure, and our first big trip as a family, and it was really wonderful to see how well the girls travel. I'm so glad. They had great attitudes. They adjusted well. Logan is insisting right now on carrying her gigantic backpack that weighs probably about half her size. The long flight over, I wasn't anxious about it. Well, I was nervous about us actually getting into the country unscathed with everything that was going on, all the documents that we needed to submit, but I didn't realize how excited the girls would be for that flight because they had unfettered access to so many movies. So they were actually excited about getting back on that long flight so they could watch more movies.
You want to talk about least favorite things about this trip?
Mm-hmm.
I think least favorite thing for me, I mean, if you could tell, I'm
He's dripping,
sweating.
dripping right now.
I
down to his legs.
I think ever since I got off the plane and landed in this country, I've just been in a constant state of sweating. Even when there's air conditioning, there's perfectly fine air conditioning in this airport, but I'm still sweating. And that's pretty much been my state for these past 3 weeks. Just sweating every day. It's nonstop.
There are air conditioners, but it's not consistent, and it's very humid. So
Yeah, some days we caught the beginning, I think, of the monsoon season. So we did catch a lot of rain last week. And on some of those days, there was a really nice breeze, really windy. But again, I just can't stop sweating when we're eating, when we're walking, when I'm just laying down. So that was definitely my least favorite part. Yeah. Do you have one?
I would say because time felt so precious, and I had forgotten how long it takes. Seoul is a humongous city, but I had forgotten how long it takes to get from place to place, and I did try to plan most of our days to be in just one area, to like pick one thing and to be in one area, but
Mommy, it's 6:58.
okay, thank you. It did feel like it took at least an hour to get anywhere, and I think because I wanted to be with my parents most of the time, I would have been fine just staying at their apartment like the whole time. So I think I probably felt that travel to and fro more acutely. But it wasn't that bad as long as I had a book to read or I was with my parents so that we could talk.
I think the last week and a half, we just ended up taxi cabbing everywhere.
A lot.
Yeah. Also motivated because I couldn't stop sweating. So
Also,
at least in the cab, there was like air conditioning.
Yeah, taking a cab for 4 people, the price wise, it like it works out not too much more expensive to take the subway. But it didn't always mean faster because the traffic in Seoul can get so bad. I think
really
that's
bad.
part of what takes what makes it take so long.
Yeah. So I had another thing too, and this will sound more like a complaint, but I just really don't understand the whole napkin situation in restaurants here in Korea. Like there are these tiny little squares. It's really just like 2 toilet papers, single
two
ply,
squares, yes,
see-through.
toilet paper.
You wipe once and it just becomes useless and shrivels. So I'm constantly taking those little napkins, wiping myself or wiping my sweat, and just having like a pile of those napkins.
Disintegrated
Yeah.
napkins.
We went to like really nice restaurants, and then they would give you these little napkins. I think the only place that actually had, I guess, regular sized napkins was at Mingles, and that was like such a nice relief.
That's why I don't like the word regular. It assumes that you have the right normal way
Yeah,
of
I
doing
guess
things.
what I was used to, right?
Mommy, it's 7 o'clock.
But
Okay.
we're about to board, so I guess
We'll
that wraps up.
continue.
Yeah,
Will we continue? Will we have more?
I don't know. I think this wraps up the recap.
Okay.